Welcome into the Lowe Zone, everybody. I'm Justin Lowe. That's Oscar Creed. We have a special guest, Robbie Haytain, today joining us from the Celtics Talk Weekly. He's my co-host over there. We'll actually have a post-game show concluding the Celtics and San Antonio Spurs later on tonight. But for now, we're here to talk NBA basketball within itself. If you're new here, this is the Lowe Zone. It's my show. I like to talk basketball. I like to talk hoops. I know college March Madness is going on right now. A little bit of something that I'm interested in is the NBA playoffs are right around the corner. We get this feeling outside, April, late March. It's, summer's gone, the snow's leaving, and you wake up and you feel fresh. You get the flowers starting to sprout. It's feeling like playoff basketball is right around the corner. I don't know if you guys ever, I guess, have that type of feeling. But when it's this nice outside, when basketball is starting to heat up, the races in both conferences are starting to heat up, Oscar, it's a really good feeling in the NBA world.
It's the perfect weather to take your mother out on a picnic too. I honestly, like, my hopes for playoffs are dead and gone at this point for my team, for the most part. There's that slight chance my Orlando Magic will squeeze into the play-in, but for you two Celtics fans, you must be on top of the world looking forward to this playoffs. And as an NBA fan myself, like I can't help but be more excited about the playoffs than March Madness right now. I resonate a lot with what De'Aaron Fox said the other night in the media, and he said, I can't stand watching college games. Too many mistakes on the coaching end, too many mistakes on offense, no defense being played. I resonate with that. I feel bad because I don't watch enough March Madness, and I end up kind of watching the fourth quarter or the second half and the highlights afterwards. But I think I still get the vibe. I don't think I'm missing out too much.
For sure. I think that what's not to be excited about in the NBA, especially with kind of how crazy the standings are right now. You got the East, the battle for the East, but with the three top dogs, Boston, Milwaukee, Philly, obviously Cleveland and New York kind of in the mix. We don't really know what they're going to do come April, May. They could make some noise. And then out West, it's kind of anyone's game. It's the Wild West right now. You have the matchup for that 5 seed, that 5-6 seed, and then the play-in madness that's happening with the Lakers, with the Timberwolves, the Warriors, the Pelicans, the Mavericks, the Thunder. Like, it's so exciting over there. So, I mean, it really is such a great time for basketball, I feel like.
I want to start in the Western Conference because this is where kind of things heat up. We see between that 5 seed and that 11th seed, there's 2.5, 3 games in between those, which is unbelievable. Oscar, we talked about this last week. Things have definitely changed. The teams haven't, but there's different orders that the teams are in right now. The Clippers and Warriors are all knotted up for that 5th seed. And then not too far behind them are teams like the Lakers, who just, a week ago were in that 13th slot. They're up to the 8th spot. And then the Pelicans have jumped to 9th. The Thunder, my OKC Thunder, are up. They were actually at the 7th seed just the other day. And then the Dallas Mavericks, trouble in Dallas, are down at that 11th seed, which if today the NBA playoffs started, they wouldn't even be in the play-in tournament. Take a look at Dallas's downfall since the acquisition of Kyrie Irving. Now, we're not here to spread the narrative of Kyrie being a toxic teammate. That's not necessarily what we're talking about here. We're talking about Luka asking for help. He gets the help, and ever since, they're 6-8. They're 30-30 without Kyrie. Luka Doncic, they can't figure out with him. They really can't figure it out without him, and they're the 11th seed in the West. We'll start with you, Oscar. What's going on in Dallas right now?
It's a little troublesome, man. I mean, we have talked about this on the show before, and I think that the consensus about the Kyrie Irving trade was that Dallas gave up its best defender. Dorian Finney-Smith was, the Nets clearly won that trade by the way things are unfolding, because Dorian Finney-Smith took a lot of that weight on the Dallas defense. Now they're left with the likes of Reggie Bullock, and I can't even think of the next premier defender on that team because they are just so piss poor on that end of the floor. You have a big like Christian Wood, who hasn't evolved his game into becoming a defensive powerhouse with his size. He's a defensive liability. Luka Doncic, as we know, as gifted as he is on offense, he's doing everything he can't produce on defense. And when you trade your team's best defender for a guy like Kyrie, who's absolutely not known for his defense whatsoever,
Right.
you're going to have a tumultuous sort of run. And you and I talked about this before the show. If the Mavs had a full offseason to sort of get things rolling, and they had, more than this tiny sample size, especially with Luka and Kyrie both dealing with, games off here and there, it's really tough because they never had that time to gel. And I kind of want to hear what you guys have to think in terms of what they do this offseason, because it doesn't look like the signs are pointing to Kyrie Irving staying in Texas.
No, I don't think so at all. But I look at the situation in Dallas, point the finger at Luka Doncic. And the reason being, obviously, he's missed some time. He's been out of the lineup. I think he's dealing with I believe, an ankle injury or something along that line. However, I'm a strong believer that when a team is struggling, you got to point the finger at the best player. I look at how Luka Doncic plays. I look at his body language. I look at he just picked up his 16th technical foul just an hour before he started the show. He'll be suspended next game. I look at these types of things in your star player, and those are things that the team is going to pick up on. That body language, right? That kind of that screw this mentality that Luka Doncic kind of has. That isn't winning basketball. That's problem A with the Dallas Mavericks. Problem B is also in Luka Doncic. I've been saying this for a firm believer. If you listen to the Celtics Talk Weekly, when we debate Luka versus these other young guys in the league, my problem with Luka Doncic is his play style. I don't believe that Luka's play style translates to winning basketball. We've seen him paired with some solid talent with Kristaps Porzingis, Jalen Brunson, both of which who are succeeding on their own different teams now. On the Washington with Kristaps and the Knicks, obviously, we've seen what Jalen Brunson's been able to do over there in New York. And now you paired him with this third star, Kyrie Irving, and it does not seem to be working. And me personally, I have to look at the best player on that team. I have to look at Luka Doncic. And I think the finger has to get pointed in that direction for the time being.
Well, Rob, let me just talk on that point you made about him, Luka Doncic, not receiving, or having help and not being able to utilize it properly. I do think that that's part of it. I think that the help that's been sort of put around him has not been catered to his play style, because there's no doubting that he's a very efficient, maybe not very efficient. He's nearly shooting 50% from the field on the season. And his assist totals kind of speak for themselves. I think he does create opportunities for his team. But I'm wondering if, you had guys like Kristaps and Kyrie who are not known for their defense, whatsoever. Do you need to build, remember when the Celtics built that defensive powerhouse around Isaiah Thomas, someone who lacked, big time on the defensive end, and they were able to find some success in the playoffs because they had a team catered around their superstar, right? I think, I look at this team and, Josh Green is the team's best defender as of right now, and that's saying something. And I think that, Luka might be in this situation like James Harden was with the Rockets, and I don't want to compare their games because I don't think they're exactly alike. I think that they're very similar. Situations are very much alike, and I think that you can draw some parallels between their play styles. It's hard because he might need to take a step back from scoring, once he's given the help that would push him to the next level. Because as of right now, Luke is the only guy that they can turn to and go, get us a damn bucket right now, get us back in this game. And you take him out. The record might say that with Luka, without Luka, you see without Luka they're 5-10. With Luka, they're, I forget the number, but they're nearing 500 on the season. And you really just need to sort of find a way to utilize his game to the maximum.
Now, is this kind of whole thing with Kyrie Irving? We talk about it that they're 7-12 or whatever that record is with him. And do you think it's just a Kyrie Irving narrative because Kyrie had such a narrative in Boston and in Cleveland and in Dallas? Do you think this is just kind of an excuse and they're kind of just pushing the whole Luka thing and maybe even the whole, lack of help outside of these two? You think that they're just pushing this Kyrie narrative because it didn't work out in the last three spots, or do you think it does have to do with Kyrie fully?
No, Rob, you go ahead.
All right, I'll take this.
No, you go ahead. Yeah.
I honestly, believe it or not, being a Celtics fan, I don't point the finger at Kyrie Irving right now. I think he's done a phenomenal job since being traded to Dallas. He's come to work every day. I think he's been super reliable. I think his play has been very well. I think he's trying his best to mesh with Luka Doncic, not trying to steal the show. We know how transcendent of a talent and scorer Kyrie Irving is and can be when he needs to and wants to. I think I see Kyrie Irving as really just understanding right now that he has to kind of keep his head down. He has to take care of business here moving forward if he wants to get paid this offseason. I think he's done that. Like Oscar said, I think the Dallas Mavericks struggles presented itself in actually other areas outside of Kyrie Irving, such as their defensive ability. They can't really defend 1 through 5. You can stretch them out easy. You can attack the paint. They don't really have a real interior presence, along with their perimeter defense is pretty easy to crack as well. And then also the lackluster, I think, inconsistent play of Luka Doncic, where he's performing consistently and efficiently. It's just the play style. I don't know if you can lean on this certain isolation basketball. I don't know if that enough games, evidence of James Harden on those Houston Rockets teams. We kind of saw the ceiling there. And I think we could potentially be seeing the same thing in Dallas with Luka, unless he changes something.
Yeah, Justin, what do you think about that?
I think I have nothing against. I told you before we started the show, I have nothing against Kyrie Irving, and I think people tend to blow this out of proportion because of Kyrie's status in Brooklyn, because of Kyrie's status in Boston, and previously asking out in Cleveland after they won the title. I think it's understandable in terms of you would have thought that, Kyrie in a new place, in a new environment with Luka Doncic, who's one of the premier players in this league right now. But I think what people fail to realize is that you can't just throw a superstar on a team and expect it to work, at least right away. And I mentioned this, and this is kind of my perfect segue into what we're about to talk about with Golden State, because I compare this to Golden State right now in terms of Golden State's inability to win basketball games, especially on the road. And everybody says Golden State has Klay Thompson, they have Draymond Green, they have Steph Curry. Okay, what do they have outside of that? Where's their supporting cast? Right? It's not there. It's non-existent. And that's what you see in Dallas. You don't have a supporting cast outside of Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. You have nobody to help those guys. Those guys aren't going to be playing at MVP superstar levels all 48 minutes of all 82 games. And that is, I guess, where, again, I know I can't come. I'm comparing situations like you, Oscar, where Boston went away from the whole going after a superstar and realizing that they have their superstar with Jason Tatum. They need to build around them. They needed to build around Jason Tatum, not necessarily add to him, but they went out and they got guys like Malcolm Brogdon and Derek White, guys who necessarily aren't superstars, but they add to what Jason Tatum has. And again, with Rob's point on Luka Doncic's type of play type, it's kind of hard to pair players with Luka Doncic, especially when that player is Kyrie Irving. So I don't put any blame, at least not a lot of blame, on Kyrie Irving. Getting thrown to this type of team, into this team halfway through the season, it was already a complicated team without Kyrie Irving. So, it's just kind of a messy situation in Dallas, and it feels as if they're digging themselves deeper and they're not figuring it out. And hey, I would have loved if my boy, I know we're talking about defense, I would have loved if they gave Isaiah Thomas a shot or Kemba Walker a shot. I mean, let them be on the roster for the rest of the year. What's the worst that could have happened? I mean, these guys are already, I don't swear on this show, but they're already a shit show in Dallas. So that's kind of my take on it. I don't blame Kyrie. I have no ill will against Kyrie in this situation, Oscar.
Let's put some respect on Maximilian Kleber for being that superstar, stepping up for the Mavericks.
Yeah, I think
give him some love.
I think he hit that game winner, that follow-away game winner in LA. Yeah. But I want to talk about, before we get to Golden State, I do want to talk about the Lakers, the purple and gold. The deadline went in their favor. I thought they had a great trade before the deadline with Roy Hachimura. They needed to add shooting. They needed to add a wing. I thought that was a solid trade for them. And then Lowe, Vando, Beasley. I mean, these guys, defensive presence. These guys can also shoot the ball on the perimeter as well. Oscar put Lee injury. they're
I had to.
They're 13 and 14 without LeBron James, which, to be honest with you, it could be well worse without LeBron James. I think they've had some guys step up without LeBron James. Austin Reeves has been phenomenal. Anthony Davis, when he can stay healthy, we know what we can get out of Anthony Davis, and he can be easily one of the best centers in the entire NBA, if not the best. I think the problem is, again, them staying healthy. LeBron James potentially returning to the lineup tonight, just might come off the bench against Chicago. But these guys, going back to the standings, boys, these guys went from the 13th seed just about a week ago to all the way up to 8th and potentially out of the play-in tournament, holds them a game and a half out.
Yeah, honestly, I gotta say, I don't want to talk much about Austin Reeves. That guy killed my Magic. I don't know what the hell he ate before that game and why we couldn't stop him. Did you know that he shot 18 free throws that game and the Magic as a team shot 17?
That's super smart. It's super smart.
That they are feeding the Lakers with this media coverage, man.
Yeah.
It blows my mind. Look, on the topic of Anthony Davis too, I forget which analyst said that. I think it was Shaq. It's hard calling Shaq an analyst, but someone of his nature said that Anthony Davis was no longer in his prime. He's falling off. And I wanted to just point out, honestly, I'm not the biggest AD fan. I'm not. I'll be honest with you. He is having the best statistical season since being traded to the Lakers. I believe he's averaging around 25 points per game. And honestly, I think that they were holding it down, really well without LeBron James. They did something where they again built around their star player. They added guys like Jared Vanderbilt and Malik Beasley, who don't command the ball a lot, especially in this Lakers offense. Malik has turned into a catch and shoot 3-and-D threat, and Jared Vanderbilt has captured the hearts of Lakers fans everywhere. And he's getting more coverage than he ever would in Minnesota for being that defensive powerhouse when Anthony Davis isn't in. And I think everything they and D'Angelo Russell too, who's provided that scoring, the lack of efficient scoring at the point guard position that they didn't have with Pat Bev and Russell Westbrook. They found the things. They actually went out and filled the holes that needed to be filled. Pardon my French, that's what she said. And just they did the best thing possible to help LeBron James get back into the playoffs. Like, bravo to them. I don't like tipping my cap to the Lakers often, but hats off to them.
Yeah, and I think before I let you go, Rob, I think besides maybe Mike Muscala to Boston and Pat Bev to Orlando, they definitely won the trade deadline. I think in my opinion, I know I kind of harp on Brooklyn. Like, I was pretty happy. I was pretty satisfied with what Brooklyn got back for what they gave up. I think LA did what they were supposed to do. And that's kind of something we haven't seen as of late. They go at the deadline and they kind of, I guess they finally got their defensive presence. I compare the Lakers, like last year's Lakers and even before this year's Lakers, the first half of the season, to like a 2K team, a team you just build on my team or a team you build on my league or whatever it's called. Just a bunch of random players, random names. Like, look, you guys know I'm a Westbrook fan, but Westbrook was the name. They bought the name Russell Westbrook. Westbrook wasn't what he was in his late OKC days. Even, I want to say, even his Washington Wizards days, I thought he balled out in Washington. They bought the name Russell Westbrook. And things didn't work out for them. Thomas Bryant, who was supposed to be this big backup center for them, didn't really work out whatsoever. And then they kind of lacked an identity, and they go out at the deadline. They grab these great defensive players, and they get their wing in Vanderbilt as well as who is it? Roy
Hachimura.
And then they go out and they get D'Lo back, and D'Lo has been phenomenal in the lineup. And they dished out guys like Pat Bev, who, we get it. We know what Pat Bev's identity is. He's a pest. He's somebody you'd love to have on your team but hate to play against, like a Marcus Smart or even like a Draymond Green. But he wasn't really doing anything for them at all.
You
He
just
didn't.
the Lakers just used him wrong. They didn't know how to put him into a system. They asked him to be an offensive player when he's strictly out there to be a pest, like you said. And now in Chicago, he's actually pulling out some wins and he's helping secure a play-in spot for Chicago, who I thought last time we talked about this, I predicted they were going to fall out of the play-in spot. I did not expect Pat Bev to be putting up double-doubles and hustling his ass off out there.
Look at what we talked about. I talked about the wing spot for the Lakers. They were lacking. They go out get Hachimura. But it was more so when we talked about it on this show. I don't know if it was about a week ago or 2 or 3 weeks or whatever it was. Their guards were like Russell Westbrook, Patrick Beverley, Dennis Schroeder. They all can't shoot. They all can't. They like their offensive game. Like it's not there. Those are all three guards. If you have one of them, you're set. They chose to keep Schroeder, who's a solid backup guard, and they dished out Russell Westbrook, who has gone by. It pains me to say he's gone by, and Patrick Beverley, who is putting up goose eggs on the stat sheet in the starting lineup. And they trust Austin Reeves. They go out and they get D'Lo. D'Lo's been great for them. He provides great floor spacing, great offense, playmaking, shot creating, and I think that's really what the problem was. Yes, they were lacking. The wing depth and the health, but they were also a little bunched up at the guard position. Too many guards that are like doesn't work on one team, Rob.
Yeah, I think the Lakers problem. I think.
Are we losing Rob?
Yeah, I think we're Rob. Leave and join back in. Oscar, give me your thoughts on that.
What the hell is Austin Reeves' potential? What's his ceiling, man? I have no idea. I don't know what to expect from this guy.
I don't know.
Honestly, what?
I don't know. I think he's way better than Duncan Robinson. People are comparing him to Duncan Robinson. I'm like, dude.
Why? Here's the thing. Why are we always comparing white guys to white guys? You know what I mean?
No, that's not the thing at all.
No. I'm not calling you out on that. I think it's funny. Here's my second point to that. I think it's because white guys move the same as other white guys for the most part.
Like Sam
and their body language and the way that they they're just a little bit slower is all. You know what I mean? And you're a little slower with you're a little more fundamental with it. That's not a bad thing. I think it's funny. Austin Reeves, I immediately wanted to say Hito Turkoglu with more swagger in a way. You know what I mean? But I don't know, man. I think the Lakers were really hoping, like you said about Russell Westbrook, to sort of harp on the names, of players, that were great about 4 years ago. And they realized, well, that doesn't work out. You can't just make, same thing happened when they had Carmelo Anthony on the team. I'm not shocked Carmelo Anthony doesn't have a team anymore. I'm not shocked the guy's been a free agent for so long. But, yeah, look, Lakers have figured it out. And do I think that they're a playoff threat? I've learned never to doubt LeBron James. I've learned, not to doubt Anthony Davis now. It's funny, when I think of Anthony Davis, I don't think NBA champion Anthony Davis. But you have to, I guess, now. But I think that they are probably a second-round exit. At the least, I don't see them really. I honestly, if they win the play-in, I don't think they're getting knocked out in the first round.
You think they beat?
Genuinely.
You think they beat Denver?
So this.
Yeah. No, I'm not gonna lie. They are actually a team that could beat Denver. Swear to God. No.
Denver's not a playoff team, though. I've said this so many times. Denver is not a playoff team.
I get that, but that's the thing, is that if they end up playing Denver, LeBron James probably has figured the ins and outs of the Denver system at this point. Anthony Davis will surely put up a good fight against Jokic, but it depends. If can AD guard Jokic efficiently, and who's going to be guarding Jamal Murray? So, I don't know. Is it LeBron James or is he guarding Michael Porter Jr.?
So I think the Lakers let's look at the history of LeBron James' tenure in LA. First year he comes there, no Anthony Davis, he gets hurt. They were playing good basketball. He goes down. They miss the playoffs. Second year follows up. We make the trade for Anthony Davis, right? And with that came a lot of success. However, prior to the bubble, prior to that COVID shutdown, if people can remember, they were injury riddled. LeBron and AD were going down. They were starting to obviously kind of look like the injuries were taking a toll on their team. COVID hits, they get a 5-month break. Obviously, you give LeBron James and Anthony Davis 5 months of rest to put together a month run of basketball. They'll be able to do that. Respectively, they won the NBA championship. Following year, right? 2021, we look at the Los Angeles Lakers. They started off the season strong. Anthony Davis goes down, he gets hurt. They're playing without AD. They struggle. Then 2021, they make the 7th seed, and they get bounced to the Suns because AD gets hurt in the playoffs. He misses 3 games. They lose all 3 of those games. 2022, more of the same thing. Braun, AD, injury riddled. Westbrook doesn't really work out like they thought it was going to. They missed the play-in tournament. This season, trade deadline, I thought they made some phenomenal moves. Bring in D'Angelo Russell. I think the move was Jared Vanderbilt. He brought an aspect to that team that they didn't have. And that was hustle, that was grit, that was doing the outside of the box score type of things. That was the guarding your man 94 feet. That was the clapping in the defender's face, like that type of stuff Jared Vanderbilt brings for the Lakers. If they're healthy, I think they can beat anyone.
Yeah.
If they're healthy.
Yeah.
However, there's no evidence to support that, and there's no evidence for me to say the Lakers will be healthy. So they don't get that benefit from me. However, they get that benefit from the national media. But for me, Robbie Haitian, they won't get that benefit because historically speaking, 5 years, 4 out of the 5 years have been complete and utter disasters in Los Angeles. And that's just a matter of the fact. But with that being said, if they can find a way to squeak to the 6 seed, maybe 5 seed, sure. If they can get to that 5 or 6 seed, it's LeBron James. Don't bet against LeBron. But if they're in that play-in tournament, I can't say that the Lakers, after being in the play-in, will go up against a team like the Kings, the Grizzlies, or the Nuggets, who have been successful all season long, been healthy all season long, and they're just going to walk in there as the 7 or 8 seed and take down a 1 or 2 seed. That's not how the NBA works. But I do think if they find a way to climb to 6 or 5, they can make some noise if they're healthy.
Look, I see where you're coming from. I do, honestly. I think if Denver's firing on all cylinders, the only concern I have about them is their defense and stopping a LeBron James who literally has his legacy on the line. Not on the line in terms of everyone's going to discredit him after, but if this is a play-in loss for LeBron James, obviously it's going to tarnish some regard of his legacy. I don't see them beating the Kings, the best offensive team in history. I don't think we talk about that enough. Yeah. I'm so friggin' happy for the Sacramento Kings right now, man, and their fans, and Domantas Sabonis, who could have been an Orlando Magic superstar, but we opted for Serge Ibaka instead. But I wanted to talk about, you were talking about the Lakers trade. Let's keep on the topic of trades, and let's talk about how that trade deadline move that the Warriors made did not bode well in their favor. The Warriors have been really rough. Not really rough. They've maintained a playoff spot, but it's not the Warriors team that we are accustomed to. As you see here, they're 30-7 at home. We were laughing about this before the show because we just could not believe how bad. It's almost like the records are identically flipped. They're 9-29 on the road, right? And you look at the bench pieces that have been underperforming. I don't know how you can say underperforming for Anthony Lamb. I guess I put that up there, but because since he came out of nowhere, but Warriors fans are not happy with Anthony Lamb. He's not a very productive guy, especially at his size. Moses Moody has been disappointing to say the least. And Andre Iguodala, if you had expectations for Andre Iguodala this season, go check yourself into a mental hospital because the guy is on his last legs. I wanted to talk very quickly, give you guys some context about the Warriors' season this year. Are you ready for this? You would think with such a poor away record that they would have a big difference in stats on the road and at home. They score 119 points at home average this season. On average, 117 points on the road. They make 44 field goals at home. They make 42 field goals on the road. They shoot 48% from the field at home. They shoot 48% from the field, 47% from the field on the road. They make 17 3-pointers at home per game. They make 16 3-pointers on the road per game. They shoot 39% from 3 at home. They shoot 38% from 3 on the road. There's the only somewhat glaring difference is in the free throw shooting. And they shoot 5% worse at home. There's not much difference in the major shooting stats and the offense stats, even the offensive rating. Like, they maintain very similar defensive ratings and offensive ratings on the road. They kind of, but in losses, the defensive rating is pretty bad. What is it that is making the Warriors so bad on the road? Is it the fact that they're cracking? Are they actually feeling the pressure from away crowds? What is this determining factor?
It's guess what? It's
Tell me.
The Golden State. First of all, don't disrespect Jeremy Lamb. Jeremy Lamb is a two-way.
Anthony Lamb, you just disrespected him, man.
Anthony Lamb.
Don't even talk.
No. I'm not necessarily saying just you, Warriors fans. I don't think people realize Anthony Lamb is a two-way player.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to be with the Warriors come playoff time unless they extend they convert his contract to a standard contract. I would love if J.D. Davison was putting up numbers like he is on a two-way deal on a championship team. But
but before you go on, the only problem is that Anthony Lamb is being trusted with such a bigger role, in my opinion. That's how I see it.
So to counter that, I will say that is how the lack of roster that the Golden State Warriors have, that they are slotting a two-way G League player into their regular season rotation, somebody who barely has G League experience, let alone NBA experience, somebody who can only play 26 regular season games in Golden State. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the exact number is. But
I think it's like half the games. Yeah.
But that's the issue, and you're relying on Andre Iguodala, who not only are we going to talk about his age, but his inconsistency to stay healthy at his age. That factors into it as well. Dante DiVincenzo has been solid off their bench. I'm not going to complain about him, but again, that goes to show you how the lack of depth is there. James Wiseman experiment, was it Wiseman they traded? Yeah, that didn't work out. They could have had LaMelo Ball. I know LaMelo's injury prone, but LaMelo has drastically worked out over James Wiseman. And
LaMelo's not injury prone. I don't buy that. He literally just fell on his ankle in a weird way a couple times.
So that's the thing. And when we sit here and we talk about not only the road struggles, but I'm going to sit here and talk to you that as a Celtics fan, I went through 6 frigging games of this last year. Otto Porter Jr. and who was it? Otto Porter Jr., Juan Toscano-Anderson, and who's that third one? Gary Payton the second. Those guys are not on the Golden State Warriors. Gary Payton got traded back to the Warriors. He hasn't played since. He might not play all season.
I think he's playing tonight.
Is he?
No, he's back. He's back.
Well, still, he hasn't played all season. Those are 3 major losses. Juan Toscano-Anderson, I understand he was a bench player, didn't get that many minutes, but he was the guy that was going to dive over those loose 50-50 balls. He was going to give you those effort plays, those Marcus Smart-esque type plays off the bench. Losing those 3 guys doesn't, just because they're not big names, doesn't mean they're not huge pieces to a team. And that's exactly what those guys were. They lost that. They're relying on guys that Moses Moody, James Wiseman, Jonathan Kuminga, who haven't been developed correctly. They being the Warriors front office, have been so focused and so star-eyed and dazed by the big 3 in the dynasty that they didn't focus on properly developing the future of Golden State. Guess what? Curry just turned 35, 36 years old. Klay Thompson coming off a 2 years absence. Yes, he has looked good, but we got to start to think about him. We have to think about Draymond Green. Draymond Green, he's getting older. He wants a max contract. Golden State, we know how great Draymond Green has fit in with Golden State. They don't want to give him a max contract. Jordan Poole, some games he looks like the best player in the league. Other games he looks like an absolute dumpster fire. They have to figure out what is important for the future of Golden State, because I say this with legit, I'm very serious when I say this. The dynasty is coming to a close. Honestly, Last year was easily, in my opinion, the last dominant year, and even then, they were the 3 seed.
Well,
yeah, and before I toss it over to Rob real quick, I think the not bringing back guys like Gary Payton and Otto Porter in them. That's why I think Bob Myers has been in the hot seat lately. I don't know if you saw the reports where they're like, we don't, people are thinking that Bob Myers isn't going to get extended. He wasn't offered a contract extension by a certain deadline or something, and so they might end up letting him go. When you draft Wiseman over an All-Star LaMelo Ball, even if he didn't fit into your system, he probably would have been traded by now, and you probably would have got a pretty significant package because it probably would have ended up like the D'Lo situation. You could have. I don't know why he was undervaluing Gary Payton in the first place. Everybody knew how important he was to the team's defense, and now with Andrew Wiggins out, and Wiseman gone. Wiseman wasn't a phenomenal defender by any means, but you can see what he's capable of in Detroit now. I don't know. I want to hear your points on that.
Well, so I think you brought up essentially, I think the biggest, well, there's two. One of them you guys haven't brought up, but Andrew Wiggins, obviously he's dealing with things off the court, personal reasons. It's life is bigger than basketball. You got to take care of your stuff off the court. He's got to get right. However, that's a big piece. Wiggins was potentially, and you ask me, outside of Steph Curry was phenomenal last finals. He was probably the second best player on the court. And that's including the Boston Celtics side of things. He was phenomenal. He defensively, offensively, he was efficient. He gave Jason Tatum hell. It pains me to say, but it's the truth. So obviously you're dealing with the Andrew Wiggins situation, and that's a key piece. Next thing, I look at Golden State. Did you really think after a training camp incident such as the Draymond Green and Jordan Poole event, did you really think the Golden State Warriors were going to walk into the season as the defending champs, morale high, you really thought this team was going to go and run? And that's because of you got to look, teams don't just recover yet.
Yeah. And honestly, I think, do we see a guy like Draymond Green finishing his career in Golden State? It's really hard for me to see him in any other jersey. At that, flourishing in any other jersey. You know what I mean? I think his defensive impact can't be ignored. But I mean, talk about liability everywhere else. He's still a passer, and that's what he's relying on. But his athleticism, the little bit of athleticism that he actually had in his prime, is all gone. And I don't know. He doesn't strike me as this like awesome mentor to the young guys. And I'm also not the biggest fan of Jordan Poole, not for like personality reasons. I just don't love the way he plays the game. I don't love how kind of careless he is and how confident he is in shots that are bad shots, objectively bad shots. And yeah, people will tell you, you need to be confident in every shot that you take. Take good shots and be confident in the good shots that you're taking. Jordan Poole it's funny to me how a big market can kind of like paint a picture of a guy being a top, league player. I honestly, Jordan Poole is just a victim of the Golden State Warriors media attention. And he's a solid player, but he's not efficient, and he's not, I don't think they fear Jordan Poole when they play him. I think that's the tough part for the Warriors.
For now, we're going to say goodbye to Rob, and we're going to bring Rob in tonight for Celtics Talk Weekly, Celtics Postgame Live. So if you want to see more of him tonight, he will be on the Celtics Talk Weekly YouTube channel for Celtics Postgame Live in the conclusion of Celtics and San Antonio Spurs. But for now, Rob, thank you so much for joining us, man. I appreciate it. All love as always. We'll see you tonight.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. Good one. Have a good one.
Oh, it's good to have you here, buddy. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks, guys. See you.
See you.
Talk soon.
So we talked about the Western.
I'm not gonna real quick. I'm not gonna lie. I love his takes. He's good. I want him back on the show. I like that.
Yeah, Rob's my guy. I thought it'd be big bringing him in. I wish we did get to touch on something else when he was here, but that's fine because we're gonna switch to the Eastern Conference. Look, we talk about the Brooklyn Nets, how obsessed I was over the Brooklyn Nets moves in the summer. I thought what they got back for what they dished out was phenomenal. People don't give Brooklyn excuse me, don't give Brooklyn a lot of credit for that. But something that's concerning me as a Celtics fan and as a basketball fan in general is what's going on in Brooklyn with their third star. I guess now he is the star, but he hasn't been playing. So I guess you got to say Mikal Bridges is the guy down there. Ben Simmons, who is more than capable of being that guy, is not that guy. He's being shut down for the remainder of the regular season. It's doubtful he returns for a playoff run if Brooklyn gets in due to back impingement. Last year, kept him out all year long between some mental issues, a shoulder issue, and back issues. It kept him out all year long. Reliability? I mean, he's only played 42 of 74 games. I think that's really concerning. Is he an NBA talent? Is he? Can he still play? Can he still ball in the NBA? Here's my thing with Ben Simmons as a player. And first of all, I think it's important for us to note that, first of all, mental health is serious. It goes beyond basketball. It's very normal. Everybody, I think people fail to forget that these professional athletes have lives and they have issues of their own, and they have mental problems. They have issues. Oscar.
Yeah, I understand, man, and I honestly I feel bad for Ben because he's only a few years older than I am, and both of us really, and I part of me just kind of wants to point a finger at him and go, do you understand the opportunity you have here? Do you understand the opportunity that you've blown and, the reputation that you built for yourself? Even being a non-shooter, he was an ideal defender, like just a matchup nightmare for smaller guards. And in my opinion, he can still do that. That being said, if these injuries, every single one of them are as severe as they've been reported, like this one, the back impingement, I looked it up. It's a pinched nerve in the back, and it causes severe burning and pain. Um, and I've played with back spasms before that are, or pinched nerves, and you can barely move, man. It's hard. And at the end of the day, Ben Simmons is a guy, he's human, but he's blown a lot of chances. And I think what people are most upset about is the fact that he had an opportunity to make this Brooklyn Nets team his own and to really reinvent himself as a player, and he chose not to. And that was clear. And that can be because of mental health struggles.
Right.
But there have been 2 summers now where Ben Simmons has failed to make any leaps in any ways, shapes, regards of basketball. In fact, he's gotten worse.
Right.
Especially since putting him at the center position.
Yeah, and again, I've said this many times, and I've said this here on this show, is Ben Simmons has the ability, and it's his decision on if he wants to be.
Here, sorry, give me 1 sec. I'm so sorry.
Oh, dude, you're fine. He has the decision to be that guy. It's his own choice, and it's up to him. And I feel like we know what we can see out of Ben Simmons. We know his potential. We know what he's played like before when he was in early days in Philly. But it's up to him on whether he wants this or not. If it's does he want to play basketball? Does he want to be in the NBA? And those are questions you have to ask, and those are questions that I think have to be considered, not only by just the fans, but for him in general. Does he legitimately want to play basketball anymore? And if not, I think we might see him retire or step away from the game. And I get it; it's crazy. He's such a young player, and he has so much potential, and there's still plenty of time left in his career. But with these injuries and his battle with mental health, and I guess you could tell on court, he's not as aggressive as he used to, whether that's looking for a shot or making that extra pass or getting downhill and attacking the basket. Like, that's just not who Ben Simmons is anymore. And when he came into the league, he was one of the best right away at doing so. I don't know if his situation in Brooklyn, I know it's crazy because I don't know. I feel like these trades with Kyrie gone and James Harden gone and Kevin Durant gone, this is Ben Simmons' perfect time to shine. He gets really
absolutely.
this could really be his own team, and he could really pair well with Mikal Bridges, who is a phenomenal, one of the most best defenders in this entire league. Look at that, the Ben Simmons jersey.
What's funny about this one?
What?
It's an Adidas jersey, and this was his initial rookie season that he was supposed to play in was the last season that they had Adidas jerseys. So, but you can't find many of these. I don't
No,
think.
and that's the thing. Like,
Faith in the kid.
it's undoubtable what Ben Simmons was. I mean, like, his skill level, and I believe it's still there. It's whether or not he wants to put the effort in to, I guess, not more so recreate it, but to get back to it. But again, I think these injuries have to be figured out. I don't know if these are just excuses not to play. But if it is on the mental health side, I think, again, I say it again, people fail to understand that, yes, these athletes make millions of dollars just dribbling a basketball. But what they fail to understand is they are humans. They are in the spotlight. Yes, they do have these big platforms to speak and everything like that and to share their opinions and stuff. But they go through the same everyday struggles that us regular people, whatever you want to call us, do, Oscar. Like, I'm sure Ben Simmons goes through hell behind the scenes. I'm sure he does. And I'm sure the trolls on social media, like, I'm sure they get to him. Like, they have to. I'm sorry, but, like, Ben Simmons is one of the most hated players in the league just because he won't shoot a three-pointer, which is crazy to me. But it is what it is with Ben Simmons in the Brooklyn Nets. He has to figure it out, and he controls his own destiny, not the Brooklyn Nets, not the Philadelphia 76ers, but Ben Simmons himself. But
yeah, because they've given him time to do so. That's the crazy part, is that he's had ample opportunities to pull this off. Do you really think that he could retire? Because I've contemplated that before. He could fully decide to retire one day.
All right.
And I wouldn't entirely be shocked.
No. This question popped up with Kyrie Irving when Kyrie was going through his mental health issues, and I don't think people understand mental health could be the worst injury of all. And we don't see that too much. And we saw John Morant take a few weeks off and go to therapy and figure out his mental health before returning back to basketball. Like, this stuff happens. And, like, again, these guys are humans. They make mistakes on the court, off the court. And it doesn't even have to be a mistake. I mean, what's going on with Andrew Wiggins in his personal life is terrible. And, basketball isn't always first, and it's more than basketball. In order to play basketball, you have to figure out your life off the basketball court before getting on to play again. And I think that's what Ben Simmons has to do. Even if he doesn't have to retire, even if he steps away. But again, you said it. He's had plenty of time and plenty of opportunities to step away, use his resources, and come back. And it's just, I don't know if it's just catching up with Ben Simmons.
Well, do you remember the first, or one of the first kind of infamous cases of, mental health struggle in the NBA? There was a former lottery pick. I believe it was in the 2006 draft. His name was Royce White. And Royce White, he wasn't, I'm sure he struggled with depression and anxiety at points, but he was, like, deathly afraid of flying. And so he spent his rookie season not going to away games, and he ended up, like, falling right out of the league, even though he was super promising. And people might laugh at that because it's like, oh, ha, 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 how do you have, like, a fear of planes like that when you're getting paid that much? Just, like, go to sleep on it. Some guys, shit like that is debilitating, man. Like, it just...
Dude, just the ear pressure for me is enough, let alone flying. Like, I'm not scared of flying. It's a pressure.
You ever watch the TV show Lost?
No, but what about it?
It's about the group of passengers on a plane, and it crashes on a island. And ever since I started watching that, I was like, you're gonna have to pay me to get on a plane, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole mental health issue, it's everywhere. And I just think NBA players and these professional athletes, the spotlight's on them more. So you hear about it, and we don't know what's going on in Ben Simmons' personal life. I guess Kyrie Irving was right. Like, Kyrie said it the other night. He's like, you guys see me for 3 hours on the basketball court and think you know me.
Yeah.
Which is a very valid point. But let's kind of focus on something positive before we close the show and talk about our top 10 jerseys. The race for number one in the Eastern Conference, it's heating up. The Boston Celtics, you see them in second place, 2 games behind the first seeded Milwaukee Bucks. Boston have won 6 of their last 8 after, Celtics dropped 3 in a row. We question, is stuff, shit hitting the fan? Not necessarily. And then Milwaukee winners 5 of their last 7, which, believe it or not, Milwaukee has been so dominant since the All-Star break. 5 of their last 7 is actually a slump, Oscar. That's how dominant they've been. And then the Philadelphia 76ers, they've won 9 of their last 12. They've actually lost 2 of their last 3 games. But Joel Embiid playing at an MVP level. It's between him and Jokic. Tatum kind of falling out, starting to get back into it, but I think for the most part, it's between Embiid and Jokic. Is it Joel Embiid? I know we're talking about the Eastern Conference standings, but I can't help ask you if Joel Embiid is the MVP.
Before I answer that, the lack of media coverage for Tatum as the MVP is disgusting. They have absolutely stopped talking about it. And more so, Jaylen Brown's been getting, and this part's good. Jaylen Brown's been getting a lot of spotlight because people are realizing this guy could probably lead a team just as well as Jason Tatum could.
Yeah. So,
probably not better, but
So let me, as somebody who covers the Celtics on a daily basis, let me tell you why Jason Tatum has fallen out of that MVP race, or at least staggered since the All-Star break. It's because when Jason Tatum, listed at 6'8", we know he's really like 6'9", 6'10", is so versatile. In the whole, go back and watch games in December. Jason Tatum was attacking downhill. He was attacking the hoop, getting to the free throw line. His free throw attempts are up. His paint points were up. And now you kind of look at the past month. Jason Tatum has hovered around that 3-point line, and he's shot it very inefficiently. And that's the issue is, he wasn't attacking the basket. The last 2 games, Sacramento, Celtics blew out the Kings. That was a big win for them. And then they blew out the Pacers, a team that they could meet in the first round if Indiana somehow gets in and out of the play-in, who knows. But Tatum, what he did so well in those 2 games, and the reason why the Celtics blew both those teams out is because he attacked the basket. And I say this all the time on the postgame show, Oscar. Jason Tatum and the Boston Celtics are at their best when they're pushing the pace and they're getting to the hoop. And that's exactly what Tatum's done. And that's kind of why I guess his MVP stock has risen in the last week compared to a month ago. But enough about the Celtics, because I'm about to talk about them all night.
Well, let me give you my answer for MVP.
Okay, yeah.
It is wholeheartedly not Joel Embiid. Like no doubt in my mind, it's not Joel Embiid. It is Nikola Jokic.
Who's behind Jokic?
To be Nikola Jokic.
Who's behind Jokic?
Embiid is number 2. Embiid's number 2. But the gap between Jokic and Embiid
is larger,
way bigger than people want to admit. And the third for me is Jason Tatum, and the fourth, Domantas Sabonis. Sabonis needs to be top 5 in MVP convo this year. Actually, sorry, Giannis and then Sabonis. That was silly of me to not include Giannis in there. I would say Jokic. I mean, look, the MVP is strictly a regular season award. Like, we cannot talk about Jokic's prior failures in the playoffs. It's not fair. That is absolutely not fair. For the last 3 seasons, he has, without a doubt, been the league's most valuable player. Without him on the Denver Nuggets, they don't stay afloat. They're nothing.
Are they lottery?
They lose their identity, right? I would assume they're a lottery team. Jamal Murray could only do so much. Joel Embiid, on the other hand, he's averaging a career high in points. Yes, he's able to create, shots on his own. He's a phenomenal offensive player. And what really turns people off the Jokic argument is that Joel Embiid is a much better defender. And that's undeniable. That being said, Jokic creates more opportunities for his team and genuinely makes his team better. And the thing is, the surrounding cast in Philly is better than the surrounding cast in Denver, in my opinion. And Jokic is able to utilize players that aren't good as the players on Philly to make it look like they're better than the guys on Philly, right? And Harden's there helping Embiid, and Embiid can only do so much in terms of facilitation. Both are phenomenal players. I think if there was ever a case for Embiid to win MVP, it was last season, and that didn't happen last season because the gap was smaller. And now it blows my mind that anyone talks about any aspect of postseason success when it comes to MVP awards because none of it factors in.
Mm.
None of it.
Mm.
What about you? What's your top 5? Who's your MVP?
My MVP,
Unbiased.
no, it's not Tatum. For me, it'd be Jokic for me. I think Embiid. But I really want to put up Giannis. I just think Giannis has been injured this year in and out of the lineup. But I think Giannis, for what he's been able to do, especially while injured, is just, hey, look, man, as a Celtics fan, Giannis, my favorite player, one of my favorite players in the league. Like, there's no doubt. There's no doubt how great Giannis is. And I said this. I think Giannis, and I stand by this, is the most dominant player in the NBA we've seen since Shaq, and I stand by it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an easy statement to make.
I
agree
also
with you.
stand by this when I say this, and I get it's a big if, but I do say if Giannis is able to consistently knock down a 3-point shot, I think he's runaway best player in the league, and that's just my opinion. I firmly believe that. We've seen Giannis. I wouldn't call him a 3-point shooter. I wouldn't call him a 3-point threat. But I will say he has the ability to stretch the floor, step behind that line, but he needs to do it more consistently for me to go out and say that he's the best player in the league. I think he clears Kevin Durant right now. I do. I think.
Oh, totally.
I don't know why that's such a big. Totally. And look, that's not me, degrading what Kevin Durant is. But this year, past couple years, this time, I think it's undoubtedly that I don't know why people debate that, and that's such a big debate, and I don't know how. The only thing Durant has over him, in my opinion, is shooting. Other than that, I really think
it's not even scoring. Like, it's just shooting.
It's shooting,
not scoring.
And I think with Tatum again, we've seen Tatum, and me covering the Celtics for so long, and the duration of Tatum's career. Is something we've come to notice is Jason Tatum usually starts off his seasons really slow. So that November, December, January is fairly quiet for Jason Tatum. And then he starts to ramp up in February and March, and last year in April, which I get it. You don't want to hear excuses, but he was out of gas come playoff time. That's not saying that Andrew Wiggins locked him up like he did. But at the same time, Tatum did. He ran out of he ran out of fatigue, and that's because he had such a dominant February, March, and April into the playoffs. He had to really carry that Boston team. This year, it's kind of the opposite. He started off phenomenal, and he's kind of dropped off since the All-Star break. I say this sometimes. The dude dropped 55, the best All-Star game performance in NBA history, and he's gone now. He's vanished. Like, where is Jason Tatum? Was he left? He was left at an after party in Utah. If they were even freaking partying in Utah, I don't think anybody.
They don't. There. They drink warm glasses of milk and go to bed at 8 o'clock
in worn down motels.
Oh, and commit hate crimes.
That too.
Yeah,
that too. Racial hate crimes, but somewhere
sexual hate crime. Yeah, no, that's Utah.
Above. They haven't been good since the Malone days, but I think the thing is, and I say it with Jason Tatum on a serious note, is I would like him to be more aggressive and use his size to his advantage. I think he is one of the best players in the league when he is doing that. I think he's unstoppable when he's doing that, and I really do believe the Celtics are the best team in the league. This is so unbiased. When the Celtics are playing fast, when they have Robert Williams in the lineup, I think Boston is the best team in the league. But without Robert Williams, and when the Celtics don't play fast and aggressive, that's where they get caught up. They beat themselves. I think when it comes down to playing in the playoffs, I think the only team that's going to hurt Boston is really themselves. I'm not saying that they're going to go out and sweep Golden State and they're going to sweep Milwaukee and Cleveland and Philly, but they're going to hurt themselves. And as much pressure as Golden State did and as fatigued ran out, for Boston also turned the ball over every possession. They were missing a lot of open shots. They hurt themselves. They beat themselves in 6. I'm not going to discredit Steph Curry and what he did and Andrew Wiggins locking up Tatum, but let's kind of be real here and go back and watch. Boston really killed themselves, but the top 3 seeds in the Eastern Conference, I think it's not even close with these 3 teams. I think it's Boston, Milwaukee, Philadelphia. This, in my opinion, could easily be the NBA Finals. It's that Eastern Conference Finals matchup, whether that's Boston and Philly, Boston, Milwaukee, Milwaukee and Philadelphia. I think winner of that wins the NBA title. I really do. I just don't think – I think, the Western Conference. I do. I think whoever comes out of the East will be NBA champion.
You're probably right, man, because unless the Sacramento Kings make the finals, then I truly believe the Sacramento Kings will win the NBA Finals. That being said, I think that's why I appreciate the Eastern Conference Finals MVP so much. The new award that they have,
yep.
The sort of like they're creating an atmosphere that makes it feel like it's a finals matchup, because it kind of is, right? I mean, like you're the 2 best from your conference, and oh, sorry, there's just a comment that says they love Oscar, and I'm not surprised. I have that effect on people, men and women. But they wouldn't like me out in Utah if that was the case.
Wow. No, I'm not even gonna let you finish. I think we're just gonna go.
No. Let's just do jerseys, because that makes sense. I don't think. Yeah, whatever. Screw you, man. All right. So these are my top 10 jerseys. I don't see a flaw in any of these. I'll be honest with you, man. There was an era between like 2011 to 2014, I believe, especially 2013-2014 season, where the Philadelphia 76ers put together some of the most atrocious jerseys of all time. And that reminded you of, like, what was it, the seven win team they had?
Yeah.
Anyways, or the 10-win team. These are my top 10. Can't go wrong with number 1. The OGs number 2. This is one of the actual rare wins in terms of older jerseys. Number 2, the away jerseys from the 70s. They're one of their more recent city jerseys. Absolutely fire. It's got this rainbow gradient on the side. What's that?
So underrated, that jersey.
So underrated. Yeah, no, and you know what? I think you're probably fuming because it didn't include any cream themed jerseys in this in this lineup here. But I'll round mine out real quick. The alternates, the blue ones, the ones that AI donned before he left to Detroit, I believe it was.
Sexy.
Detroit, was he traded, or I think that was
Memphis.
that. Yeah. Memphis, was he? Oh no, was he dealt from Philly to Memphis, or Philly to Denver, or Philly to Detroit?
Oh, I have no clue. I forget.
It's one of the 3. It was probably Denver. I probably sound like such a casual. The home jerseys from the early 2000s. Can't go wrong with those. That's Elton Brand actually wearing that. God bless Elton Brand, one of the most underrated stars of all time.
Ever.
The 2020 statements, that's Matisse Thybulle wearing it.
Hot.
My God, were those clean. And you know what? I think you're a fan because it's so simple.
Hot. Just love it.
Hot. Yeah, right? The next one, the Charles Barkley Sixers threads. God, they're so clean.
Oh, I didn't see
Again,
those.
Yeah, simplicity, right? And they actually come back one of my number 9, the away versions. I was never the biggest fan of the black Sixers jerseys, but I think that they're iconic enough they have to be in this list.
Mm-hmm.
And to round it out, number 10, none other than the Jahlil Okafor jersey, the 2015 to 17 home threads. God bless Jahlil Okafor. I hope he has nothing but success in his life, because he was my favorite player when he was in Philly. Not going to lie. He was literally my favorite player.
All right, take a look at my list. All right, so I actually have a Jahlil Okafor jersey on my list as well.
What an era, eh? I love those jerseys.
Yeah, so for me, as you can tell with mine, and I'm just a very simplistic guy. Like I could care less for all these insane, big logos and all that. But I think Philly has put together their solid years of putting together uniforms. It's pretty hard to mess up the red, white, and blue as well. But there are also so many different designs you could do for this. Number 1 for me is the statements. I mean, they still have these to this day. Being a Celtics fan and meeting Philadelphia almost every year in the playoffs, Celtics always wear their black statement edition jerseys, and then Philly wears these red ones. And I think that's like one of the cleanest uniform matchups of all time. Just simple jersey, but I love the font, and I love the 3D effect with the blue on the text. And I think it's just solid jersey. Number 2 for me is these blue alternates back in the late early 2000s, the Iverson ever. I think these are far better than the black ones. Everybody is so hyped up on the black ones. I understand it, but I just think the blue ones are just cleaner. The 1920 City Edition uniforms, I think easily for me, I'm a big, I love the cream uniforms. I think they're just clean. Somebody who likes simple jerseys, shut up. Simple uniform.
Someone who likes the cream. Someone who just is a fan of the cream.
Fan of the cream. I believe this is actually Al Horford's jersey, which is ironic.
Ew. That's so weird. I forgot about that.
It is weird.
Oh.
And then these 2021, 2022 City Edition uniforms. It's funny because at first I didn't like them, and then I slowly grew into them. And I actually think they're one of the best Sixers uniforms of all time.
They remind me of the Dallas Mavericks City jerseys that are this year. The one that have the similar font, and they got the green shadow under the text.
Yep.
Oh, I love those.
And those. To cap off my top 5, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think this is a top 5 in my opinion. The reason why I put this top 5 is because of just how iconic it is. It is an iconic jersey. I do like it, but I like the blue one far better.
No, I've never been a fan of black jerseys. I don't know. It just wasn't my thing.
The 2014 alternate, which is kind of weird because this era was weird because typically the reds were used as their alternates and the blue as their standard uniform. And then this year they switched it up. I just think that it's just a simple jersey. Like there's nothing great about it. It's just a simple jersey. These ones, my 6th, my 7th, you had these at number 1. I think these are amazing uniforms, and I don't think a lot of people know too much about them. I think it reminds me of an all-star uniform as well.
No one talks about these because this was the Andre Iguodala era, right?
Yeah,
like this was kind of like just they were finding their place after Iverson.
It's like the red version of the black jersey, and like that's the thing. Like everybody's just so keen on the black jersey, and then the white one I have at my 9. Like nobody really talks about the alternates, like the red and the blue. And this was also an era where alternates weren't really that big, so if a team wore them, like it was pretty cool. And then the city jerseys.
I missed that.
Go ahead.
I missed that because now. No, sorry. I missed when we would actually cherish alternate nights,
right?
And it's not like every other day kind of thing.
I know. And then these ones, 17 City Edition, pretty much exactly what you see right above it. Instead of just spelling out Philadelphia, they shortened it. Still think it's just a clean jersey overall. And then 9, just closing it out with the white, the set on here. I think it's a clean jersey, still iconic, obviously. And then my Jahlil Okafor jersey at number 10. Again, this was just before the Nike uniform, so we were still in an era where when Adidas owned the NBA, it was pretty cool to see alternate jerseys here and there. Just a super, super simple, basic jersey.
Yeah.
But still, it was again the era, and also when we cherished alternates, when we actually appreciated them instead of wearing them every night. Before we close out the show, Oscar. The Dallas Mavericks and Charlotte Hornets game just concluded. The Hornets just beat the Mavericks for the second time in 3 days. This was a game where 2 days ago, the Hornets, who without LaMelo Ball and Kelly Oubre Jr., went into Dallas and beat Dallas. And then tonight, no LaMelo Ball, no Cody Martin, no Kelly Oubre Jr., and no Terry Rozier for the Hornets. And the only inactive players tonight for the Dallas Mavericks, a fully healthy Dallas Mavericks teams, were AJ Lawson, who's a two-way player, and McKinley Wright the fourth, who's also a two-way player. Luka Doncic played 40 minutes, scored 40 points on 12 of 29 shooting, 7 of 16 from 3. Kyrie Irving played 35 minutes, 18 points, 5 for 15 from the field. Luka and Irving combined for 6 turnovers tonight. You think that's bad? This starting lineup, Dwight Powell, probably got hurt. Only played 3 minutes, 0 points. Reggie Bullock played 34 minutes, 3 points. Josh Green played 14 minutes, 2 points. Those were their starters. And the Dallas Mavericks have fallen to 36 and 39, which would put them, it would keep them at the 11th seed, but with a Utah win would drop Dallas down to 12th.
So this reminds me a lot of when Kyrie Irving and the Celtics lost to the Orlando Magic in his final year in Boston. And he went back into the room and was like cussing everybody out. And he was like, man, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't like this. I can't do this anymore.
I remember that game. The Celtics, they inbounded the pass to, I guess, to Hayward instead of Kyrie. And then Hayward was yelling, or Kyrie was pissed at Hayward. And it was like, dude, like, we got a great look. Like, what are you talking about?
He's like, I need to be that guy. I need to be the one getting the ball.
That to me is an issue.
This is a determining factor in if Kyrie Irving stays. This is a game that you absolutely need to win. I'm sorry. Who's on the Hornets that aren't, the main stars? Dennis Smith Jr. They don't have Jaden McDaniels anymore. Or Jalen McDaniels, sorry. No more Mason Plumlee. They got Nick Richards. They got who's the other bit? Mark Williams.
And
who are these young guns, man? Oh my God!
Just when we were hyping up the Los Angeles Lakers, they're down 54-37 about halfway through the second quarter to the Chicago Bulls. Where if you're a Magic fan, you hate to see that because the Bulls hold that 10th spot, that 10th and final spot, and I guess the Chicago win tonight would really put Orlando down, especially if Orlando loses tonight. I would say. This tonight would be the deciding factor for the Orlando Magic.
This honestly, man, this is do or die because we're really cutting it close now.
Which sucks because the Magic have won 2 straight. The Pacers have lost 2 straight.
The Wizards are losing too. The Wizards are not looking hot. For that Hornets game, dude, Gordon Hayward, their top scorer, only scored 22 points. Only had 22 points. Gordon Hayward, 22. PJ Washington, 21 and 12. Mark Williams, my man, 15 and 16, 16 boards. And no one, I mean, Bryce McGowan's and JT Thor.
Yeah.
How do you do that, man?
Yeah, that's
okay.
I'll admit, Charlotte has had some great wins down the stretch of the season. I mean, they essentially don't really mean too much because they're in the Wembanyama sweepstakes, but at the same time, those are also, for your young players, some encouraging wins.
Yeah, totally. Oh, my God, you need those.
But for now, I think we're going to end it on this note here. I think today was a great show. We had Rob Haytana from Celtics Talk Weekly. We talked about Dallas, talked about the Lakers, talked about the Nets, talked about the Warriors, the Celtics, Sixers, and Bucks, and then we capped it off with our top 10 uniforms. So if you missed it, you could either play it back and watch the replay, or you could check out some clips and some posts that we'll have up on from the episode throughout the week over on our Instagram and hopefully TikTok. We'll trying to get some content going throughout the week. But for now, I'm Justin Lowe. That's Oscar Creed. Thank you so much for joining us. And we'll see you next week, same bat time, for another episode of the